handicappers, they're all in the know. Pick some winners and
The
then
famous
you
words
say,
of
let's
George
go. So
Costanza,
come
I'm back,
on.
baby. The baseball season is back from its All-Star break. We have actual games today, including one that starts in about 20 minutes from now. We're going to break that down in the entire card as we welcome you into Betting Weekly Hardball on this lovely Friday. I'm Doug Kezirian alongside professional handicapper Albert Nguyen, also known as Analytics Capper. How are you, my man?
I'm doing great. Even though, we had a few days off from the main sports, it was nice to focus on, sports like tennis and golf. But I do have one piece of advice. I know that Major League Baseball is back tonight, Doug. It's a full slate. There's 4, 8, 12, 13, 14 games. It doesn't mean you have to bet every single game. Definitely still stay selective and stay disciplined.
So that was my first topic is this first game. A lot of times we're jonesing to play a lot of games, and I would say you touched on it. But if I'm going to be critical or at least re-tee you, as they say in the business, that should be a philosophy all the time, right? Not forcing bets, things like that. What about this first day back? Like, how do you look at some of your research and things like that? I know Wes and Adam talked about it on yesterday's show. Wes, kind of errs on the side of unders for pitching props, just guys getting back in the routine, smaller units. I mean, is there a way you treat this first series versus other ones?
I think unders are a good look. I would say the days off is more advantageous for pitchers. I think they go through a lot more fatigue, the grind of the season. Again, we're talking about 162 games. And yes, they don't pitch every single day, they have days in between, but having an extra week off really allows their arm to recover. And I like pitchers, especially the older pitchers, Doug. Those are the ones that I would be identifying this first weekend back.
Okay. Because you think the extra rest benefits them. Is that what you're
Extra rest
insinuating?
benefits them, so arm fatigue is not an issue, but also they're veterans, right? Like the older guys have gone through this several times already throughout their careers, that they know what to expect. They know, where potential soft spots are within, lineups that they're going to face with one or two, with the first or second day back from a long layoff like this. So I like that players, the older pitchers that have been there before, and we'll get to it later today. But for example, like Justin Verlander, right?
Right.
He's gone through this basically 20 times, and he understands what it takes to win. And he's been undervalued all season long, even though his win-loss record looks really bad. He hasn't been pitching that bad.
Okay, so maybe some buy low spots on Verlander. Like you said, we'll get into that. We do have a game coming up in a little bit, but I just want to remind everyone to get extra value this summer with prop packs exclusively at Bet Rivers. Opt in to the prop packs promotion for your chance to earn profit boosts, bonus credits, and more when you place a Major League Baseball same game parlay. See the Bet Rivers app for full details and tear into the action. And we also want to remind you to like and subscribe. We passed the 10,000 subscriber mark here at Bet Rivers Network. Really exciting stuff, but let's keep it going. It's the currency in this YouTube world. So we really appreciate those who support us and want to remind you to like and subscribe. It's free, as is this podcast. So everybody wins. We just contribute the free elements. So let's talk about this game that's on the north side of Chicago with the Cubbies hosting the Red Sox. Now, we say this all the time in the NFL. Sometimes bye weeks are not a good thing. When you're playing well, you don't want it. And that's what happened to the Red Sox, winners of 10 straight. They are certainly streaking. And Lucas Giolito's turned things around. I mean, we documented his struggles at home earlier in the year at Fenway Park and things like that, but he's been pretty lights out, all things considered. Going against Colin Ray, this is low total here, 7.5 at Bet Rivers, under minus 115. Cubbies minus a buck 39 on the juice, buck 34, I should say. And I, like you said, you lean under. Is that 7.5 two under though?
I think it is two under. The lines have moved a couple cents. There's just been a lot of movement because this is the first game back. But even though the under, the total is relatively low, you mentioned it. Lucas Giolito, he's been lights out. We talked about his home and away splits, but in his last 5 starts, listen to these stats: sub one ERA, so 0.83 ERA. He's 4-1 in that time span, averaging 6 and 2/3 inning, averaging over 96 pitches a start. So all five starts were quality. The one loss he had was against the Giants. They were, plus 144 dogs. Um, he's definitely turned a corner, and I think he's one of those pitchers that I mentioned earlier. That time off is going to be really helpful for him.
Yeah, I'm a fan. I've been a fan. I've been on him at last couple starts for Giolito. Again, it's this Red Sox 10-game win streak. You just hate to see this layoff. Now, that doesn't mean they can't win. I would just rather this game had been the day after their 10th straight win. I just want to keep it rolling, so to speak. I guess it just raises the potential for rust or just getting off that gravy train. When you're rolling, you're rolling.
Yeah, definitely the rust versus rest debate. And the other thing that I like to point out here is, when they made that Devers trade, the Rafael Devers, they gave away, one of their, cornerstone pieces, if you will. Everybody was mad. The public reaction to it was very negative against Boston. And look where they're at right now, right? They're playing their best baseball. And I think that's the beauty of baseball, Doug, is one man doesn't make a team. Devers didn't make this Red Sox team good, great, or anything in between. But getting him out of the locker room could have been a benefit for this team. And I think they're playing a lot freer and they're playing better, more team ball. And I like this team. I'm going to lay off. I know we're only 15 minutes away from it, but I do lean Boston here just because I think everybody it's steaming towards Chicago, and I'm not the type of better that chases steam like that.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point. For me, it'd be Boston or pass because I think they have the pitching edge. And yes, the layoff with the All-Star break, but they still are the hot team, so to speak. Cubs have come back to earth, particularly this, last few weeks, but still, they're a good, formidable opponent. That's why I'm laying off. I'm going to lay off the under as well. Um, it's tempting though because, like we discussed, it's the only game going on right now, and you want to just, we all have FOMO in the betting space, but we can always dive in, especially during the show. We can always dive in. Also, wanted to mention it's Bat Flip Friday at Bet Rivers. Opt in and place a $10 wager on any player to hit a home run, and you'll receive a profit boost of up to 100%. See the Bet Rivers app for full details. So maybe you want to implement that Bat Flip Friday promotion on this game because it's the Lone Island game until the nighttime hits and we get obviously the usual start times for games. But a lot going on. We have the Open Championship currently in overseas in Ireland. So that's fun. That's a big event. I know you're wearing a Masters hat, so that's cool. And we got the All-Star weekend, but baseball center stage. And I'm surprised Major League Baseball didn't do more of a theme-based weekend. We had a rivalry weekend about a month and a half ago. But there still are some interesting matchups, and I want to get to some of those. You mentioned Verlander on the bump. Giants are in Toronto, so a little interleague action. Chris Bassett going for Toronto. Blue Jays, the second favorite right now to win the American League East. We just talked about the Red Sox. They're plus 575 at Bet River, so that's tempting. But you mentioned Verlander could be a buy low spot, getting plus 123 at Bet Rivers, kind of knowing how to navigate this All-Star break. Get the old man running, if you will, on the bump, and could be pretty solid. What's your read here?
I mean, he did take the week off and spent time with his beautiful wife, so you can't. He's winning no matter what. Even though in his last five starts, Doug, he is 0-5, ERA at 5.47, only averaging about 80, 81, 82 pitches an outing. He's much older than the Verlander that everybody knows from Houston or even Detroit prior to that. But the last few starts, he's been pitching a lot better. So he went up against the Phillies before the All-Star break. He gave up 2 runs that the team gave up 11. So he was a plus there. I actually think that there's value in the Giants here. I know it's always hard to travel international, especially north of the border post All-Star break. But I like this Giants team not only from a Verlander standpoint is a buy low, but I think this offense is also a buy low. We talked about the Devers trade. He struggled quite a bit, so far being in a Giant uniform. And I think second half of the season, looking at their record now, 52-45, right there, right in it. I think they're going to start making a move, and not only from a pitching perspective with Verlander and the rest of those guys, but also hitting the ball. And I think the Giants, for me, the Giants are one of those teams that I circled for the second half of the year.
Okay, that's interesting. Because I was going to ask you because Adam and Wes talked about maybe the Giants were starting to fade and come back to earth, more regress to what we expected coming into the season. And you think it's an opportunity for them to regress the other way. You think they're actually talent is there. They're going to head back to where they were from the beginning of the season.
I do, especially in that division where everybody's talking about the Dodgers, the Padres, even the Diamondbacks get a lot of noise. No one really talks about the Giants, and the Giants. This is kind of their mo when they win championships, when they win titles. Is they're overlooked. It's an odd year, which is
I
another
was going to say, odd or even, that'll tell you everything.
yeah, and then they're flying under the radar. They're above 500. They've already made their big move for their splash bat, and I don't know. I actually I would kind of challenge the others there. I like the Giants here because there's not a lot of noise around them.
Just to recap this, it is funny how they're they're what they do each year, sort of the odds versus evens. The recent titles they've had were in even years. So 14, 12, and 10.
Mhm.
So maybe the odd years are a little reluctant there, but that year they beat the Dodgers. That was 2021. So the lone year in the last 15 years the Dodgers did not win the NL West. It was the Giants who had that ridiculously surprising season. How about this? How about the offense can pick up in the second inning? I'm going to go nerfy here.
Mm.
Minus 112. We get Verlander, the old man, off the nice rest. And that Giants offense, you mentioned traveling after the All-Star break. I know you get the extra day nowadays on Friday, but feels like a sleepy first inning. So I'm going to go minus 112. I think the bats of the Giants are going to be a little quiet because they normally are. I'm okay with Chris Bassett backing him. And then I'm going to do Verlander to step up against a fairly potent Blue Jays lineup. But again, you know, long layoff. Maybe the bats are sluggish.
That's a very, very bold, bold move there. Because with Clement, Springer, and most Guerrero, number 4 would be Bo Bichette. Yeah, you're right. I think this is a great buy low opportunity for Verlander. I mentioned it earlier. I think he's pitching a lot better than his record. I don't even know what his record. I know he's over. He hasn't won a game yet this year, but he's deserved at least 2 or 3 wins. He's had some quality starts, especially recently.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now. I must have just scrolled past it. 0-7, 0-7, which is not something you see very often with Verlander. Okay, we'll keep it moving. And there's some other high-profile games. We mentioned Giants. Let's mention the Dodgers. LA hosting the Brewers. So it's the Blue Crew hosting the Brew Crew. LA won 2 straight going into the break after that 7-game skid, which was just mind-boggling. Now, Tyler Glasnow is back on the bump. He did pitch very effectively in his return from injury. He hadn't pitched since late April. Then he pitched right before the All-Star break, went 5 shutout innings. So that's good to see as the Dodgers have had some issues with health in their starting rotation. Remember, they were going to have like a 7-man rotation to start the year, but that's not been the case with all those injuries. Dodgers did, part of that 7-game skid was getting swept in Milwaukee. Dodgers 210 home favorites at Bet Rivers over under 8.5, and Quinn Priester going for the Brewers.
Quinn Priest, last 5 games. Listen to this, Doug. 5-0. ERA is 3. Averages about 90 pitches a game. He didn't. So you mentioned that the Brewers did sweep the Dodgers about a week and a half ago. He didn't pitch in that series, so this is going to be the first time facing the Dodgers in this against that lineup. But it's hard for me to back a Dodgers team at that number. Obviously, you're always going to see basically 99% of the time the Dodgers are going to be favored just because of their pure talent. Their lineup is, there's firepower up and down that lineup, but it's important to try to find value with this team, right? Is it the run line? Is it, a buy low situation? Is it sell high? So The Brewers here have dominated this head to head. Not only did they sweep a week and a half ago, they've won the last five overall, six out of the last eight. So they're not scared about the Dodgers, definitely. But I would say those wins that they had against LA were in Milwaukee. So it's a different beast traveling to the West Coast, being in LA, playing in Dodger Stadium. Again, not saying that they're scared, but those elements add a lot more, different variety to the game. So for me, it's a layoff. For me, I don't even have a lean in this game. I think it's a good opportunity for Milwaukee to surprise them. But I would say the Dodgers should be looking more at the big picture. Doug mentioned it. Their starting pitching is hurt, but also their bullpen is not very good. So they need at least one or two more arms to make a legitimate run at the title this year.
Yeah, and they'll obviously be buyers at the trade deadline. They're not afraid to spend money and go all in. But in terms of this matchup, I'm with you. It's Brewers or pass. Glass now, he's not a guy you're going to make a lot of money betting against. So I know the 210 is a steep price. The plus 163 looks tasty, but I'm going to pass there. And yeah, you mentioned Priester pitching well, but this Dodgers lineup is just a different animal. And I'm in no rush to bet an under involving the Dodgers unless it's a huge number and like the Rockies are in town or something like that. So it's a hard pass for me. What about you?
Yeah, pass for me. I would say the Dodger unders have been hitting the last 2 weeks heading to the All-Star break. I think they hit 11 of 13 games, something like that. So the unders have been hitting, but you're right. Extra rest here, I would say in LA Stadium. So it's definitely a layoff for me. No side or no totals.
I am very interested in this next game. Orioles at the Rays. Charlie Morton going for Baltimore, and he's been excellent the last month or so. Facing Taj Bradley. They are in St. Pete. Obviously, the Rays are not playing in their normal home stadium. This is a game where I'm thinking of firing on the under. I just worry that the pitchers are not in a normal groove. If this happened in this normal swing and things, I would love the under 9 in this game, but minus 113 is tempting. I think that's the right way to play it. I'm probably going to pull the trigger, but not quite yet. What about you?
No read there on the under or the total for that matter. I would say you mentioned West and company are expecting the Giants to potentially regress back, and they've been outperforming their expectations. The team that fits that bill for me, in my opinion, is actually the Rays. I think the Rays have been outperforming how they should be playing. There's not much talent on this team. They're always going to play hard, the small market teams. Um, but this is a team that I've circled that I expect some regression there. And I think it starts this weekend, to be honest. So I actually like Baltimore. I like Baltimore's talent. Obviously, if you've been doing Baltimore money line this entire year, you're down just because they were expected to be a much better
Oh, yeah.
team. But I think the second half of this year, you're going to see, their hitters turn the corner. And I like Baltimore in this game. It's a really strong lean for me, especially at that number. You're getting plus money. Um, Maybe I'll make an official play by the end of the show, but right now I'm leaning Baltimore pretty strongly.
Okay, so they're down. If you bet on them every day, they're down 9 units nearly. So that's third worst in the American League. And obviously, the Braves have been terrible. The Rockies, of course, have been terrible. So looks like sixth worst in all of baseball if you include the Pirates. So three American League teams, three National League teams have been better. But to your point, the market may have caught up and there's value. And obviously, they started out really poorly. You know what? I'm going to pull the trigger on the under 9.
Okay.
I think both Morton and Bradley can handle their business. I think this has got 5-3 written all over it. I think those do get the win. I'm with you on that. I think Morton's going to continue his stuff. You mentioned the veterans being good sort of guys to back in this part of the calendar off after the All-Star break. Morton kind of fits that bill. So I'll do that in that regard. So we'll go under 9 as my second official play. Really should do a Nerfy in this game as well. But no, um, we'll just do 9 for the game. I think that's a good number. It's a key number in baseball totals,
Yep.
as we've mentioned. How about the Colorado Rockies? Did the hard reset of this first half of the season that give them a little life coming into the second half of the season? They are only plus 140 at home with the Twins in town. It's Chris Paddock on the bump for Minnesota against a Colorado team that is 22 and 74 on the season, 52 games under 500, 4 and 14 in their last 18. So pretty standard stuff, all things considered by their standards, that is. And 4 and 14 in their last 18. And of those 14 losses, 11 by at least 2 runs. So we dare go pick them minus 112 on the run line for the Twins. Do you feel comfortable backing Chris Paddock at all?
I do not. I do not like Chris Paddock today. If you look at the pitcher matchup, actually, Kyle Freeland has the advantage, especially if you're looking at um, recent games. In the
Right.
last 5 games, Kyle Freeland, 2-3 win-loss record, averaging about 85 pitches in those starts. But don't forget, like, he pitches in Colorado. It's a much harder, venture to pitch in elevation in Colorado. So all of his numbers are going to be inflated. And then you look at Chris Paddock in the last 5 games, same record, 2-3, but it's close to a 7 ERA, only averaging 4 and 2/3 inning per outing in those 5 games. I think he's been very, underperforming. The team in general, the Twins have been very underperforming, and that includes a better last 10 games. Like if you look prior to that, they were very struggling. With that said, I think to be honest, I think it's a Rockies play here. I'm not bold enough right now, first day back at an All-Star break to put my well-earned money on that. But if I had to choose, it would be Rockies or nothing.
Interesting. So out of the gates, willing to back the Rockies. Interesting. I agree that the Twins are a team I do not want to bet on normally. I think Freeland stinks. He has pitched okay, but he's actually been worse at home. I mean, some of these guys are just so bad. The Twins, I mean, yeah, they're not good, but that's by normal baseball standards. The Rockies are bad, bad. So honestly, I'd look at the Twins in the run. I think this will be a high scoring game. I'm thinking 7-3 kind of thing. That would go under the 11, but I think Twins win like 7-3. I would lay the. I'm not going to get involved. Chris Paddock's not a guy I want to bet. You're going to lose money long term backing on a guy like Chris Paddock, in my eyes. Some other games that caught my attention: Patrick Corman back on the bump for the Rangers. They host the Tigers, who've been such a pleasant surprise this season, and that's why their manager is more than just odds on for manager of the year. Last I check, I'm scouring, but I think it's like minus 200 out there in the market. So it does make sense. But this is a virtual pick 'em at Bet Rivers, and the Tigers certainly solid. They have Olson on the bump. Reese Olson, that is. I'm surprised this line is what it is because the Rangers' offense and just how well the Tigers have played.
This is why this is going to be my first official play today. I do like the Rangers today, Doug. I'm taking that bait. The line is very fishy, but I like it. The Rangers, if you're looking at a team that needed the All-Star break, I think the Rangers were on a 10-game road trip before, the All-Star break. So that week off and a team that only had one All-Star was perfect, right? And I think, that added rest and amount of time that they were off is only going to help this team. Although the Rangers team struggled offensively, or has struggled offensively in the first half, it has picked up a lot in the second half of that first half, right? With guys coming back, guys like Seager, Simeon has finally started seeing the ball a lot better. So I do like the Rangers. If they win today, I expect them to win the series. So 2-1 type of series bet. So if you don't want to bet the Rangers, maybe bet the Rangers series, because I do think if you're looking for a team that needed that break more than any other team, it was the Rangers.
Okay, so first official play, Rangers minus 114 at home behind Patrick Corbin, who hasn't been the same since the spider bite, we assume, has healed. He was excellent after the spider bite, but that's not been the case. But Rangers in town, sorry, Tigers in town, AL East leading Detroit Tigers, that is. But you'll go Rangers minus a buck 14 on the home game. Braves and Yankees. I mentioned the Braves just a second ago, just being one of the worst teams money line this season. One of the bigger disappointments, them and the Orioles, really, if you think about it. With the Yanks in town, Yanks stumbling down the stretch before the All-Star break, lost their hold on first place in the division, which, to be honest, was pretty expected. They were punching above their weight for so long. But the Yanks going with Hamilton Ian Hamilton on the bump. This was a question mark overnight. So the Braves are actually favored minus 141 because Spencer Strider is taking the mound for the Braves, and the market still likes the Braves on paper over under 8.5. This is for me, this is an underplay, but I'm not going to pull the trigger. What about you?
This is going to be my second official play. So good job
Oh
picking
boy.
games there. I'm going to go with Atlanta. You mentioned it, one of the worst money line teams throughout the season, second to the Colorado Rockies. Doesn't mean they're a bad team because there's still a lot of talent there. You saw that a few of them made the All Star game. So even though they had the All-Star game and had had time off, they actually didn't have to travel, which is a huge positive for them. A big advantage because the All-Star game was in Atlanta there. The Yankees, another team similar to the Rays, where I think they've had outperformed in that first half, and I think they're going to regress a little bit back. But being the Yankees, they're always going to be front and center in terms of news and national narrative. But I like the Braves in this one. I was monitoring the lines all morning because it took the Yankees a while to finally announce their starter. And when Ian Hamilton was announced, you saw the line jumped up by 10 to 12 cents towards the Braves. And I think that is the right move. I think the Braves with Strider have the clear pitching advantage and being at home as well with the rest of the team, not only the all stars, but the guys that didn't make the team. They've been at home this whole time. I like the Braves in this one.
All right. So Braves minus 141, your second official play here on Betting Weekly Hardball. So good to get that uh, on documentation. By the way, we are through a half inning on the north side of Chicago at Wrigley Field. 3 up, 3 down for the Boston Red Sox. Colin Ray gets 2 strikeouts as well. So we're now the bottom half of the first. And by the way, that over under we talked about has moved from 7.5 to 7 just because Boston went in order. So I'm always mesmerized by how drastic the over under, the live total drops if there's a scoreless first inning. This might go to 6.5 even, just because next up's the after the top of the lineup. So you get the bottom half, and you're thinking, okay, so they'll likely get through 2 or 3. So that's why there's such a big drop off because the percentages really benefit, top of the order, so to speak. So that's always fascinating. Cubs are now minus 180 favorites on the live line, given that Boston has already batted in the top of the first and we're just underway in the bottom of the first. So one first strike underway for Michael Bush. Any
Those
thoughts
who
here, live betting?
Yeah, and those who have bet, Boston heading into this game, thinking they were value dogs, and I agree with them because I think I was on Red Sox or nothing at all. This bottom half of the inning and watching Giolito pitch is going to be very important. If he's going to be hitting his spots in the bottom half of this first inning, and it's going to be easy, and it doesn't have to be 3 up, 3 down, but at least less than one base runner. I do like Boston's chances for the rest of the game.
Okay. Good to know. Like, and I agree. I couldn't agree with you more on that. I love watching pitchers for live wagering because if they're hitting their spots, like you said, it's one of those games where they just have it. And thing I also like to do is pay attention to what the broadcast is saying, particularly the analyst. It's usually a former pitcher. They sense this stuff. They want to roll up the sleeves and nerd out with pitching. So when they see a guy throwing his stuff and things like that, it's really they're going to mention it. Or if he's off, if he's just a little off, even if he's getting out of the jam or whatnot, you still like to kind of sense what he sees because that's where the algorithms that determine the live wagering lines will not be reading the room, so to speak. So that's where the broadcast can really be advantageous. Any other games catch your eye? I mean, that's the stuff I wanted to talk about. I have my 2 plays. We have 2 official plays for you. Anything else sort of catch your eye?
Yeah, there were a couple dogs that I was looking into. Looking to fade the Padres today. Dylan Cease is on the bump. He's been struggling, right? He started off okay, and then he's been struggling as they head into the All-Star break. Not only him, but the Padres team in general. Looking at the Nationals, I think they're a small dog. I think there's some value there with Soroka starting for them. And then the other game I wanted to talk to is the Athletics and the Guardians. I know the Guardians, I don't know if they've announced their starter yet since I've checked, but I think the Athletics being on the road, I think this is a team with Brent Rooker, who was awesome in the All-Star game all week, not only the game but also the home run derby. I think he's going to take that momentum. I think the A's are a team where you can buy low because I think their lineup is a lot better than people expect, and I think they're going to go on a little bit of run, not a playoff push because I think they're too far out. They're 41 and 57, but I wouldn't be surprised if they start playing 500 ball the rest of the year. And I like them against the Guardians today.
All right. So usually they kind of break out the bats at home in that minor league park, but you like them on the road. And the Guardians have been terrible. Their offense absolutely stinks. They only have a couple bats that really, instill fear in opposing pitchers. Adam the Bulls, based in Cleveland, does a Guardians show on Cleveland sports, things like that. So he's always sharing his expertise and wisdom and knowledge on this team. I'm with you there. I don't think I'm going to bet on the Guardians all season, so or the rest of the year. So if I do, it's going to be Guardians team total under, things along those lines. Not a fan of this Cleveland squad. I think they're going to continue spiraling.
I agree with that. And just a quick update, Giolito did walk his first batter, so he is struggling. Already 3 balls against Kyle Tucker, batter number 2. So maybe it's a bad Giolito game.
Yeah, maybe just that rhythm from the All-Star break. But yeah, he walked Bush on full count, and now he's got 3 balls to the second batter. So after going 3 up, 3 down in the top of the first, the Cubs bats responding to what Colin Ray did. And so maybe it's a good Cubbies, one of those Friday afternoons in Chicago, fun atmosphere, and the road team just not quite feeling it. So we'll see if the Red Sox, but they've won 10 straight. Not all were rocking chair wins from start to finish. Some of them, remember, they had a 2-run shot in the bottom of the ninth to walk off to win it down a run. So they've eked out some wins, scratched and clawed their way. So maybe this could be one of them as well. So keep an eye on that broadcast, listen to the broadcasters, and have a good feel for things. Any other leans you have on your palette?
Doug, we do have another marquee game. I think we accidentally skipped, but it was the Astros facing the Mariners
Ah,
in
yes.
Seattle. Yeah, both winning teams there. Astros have been on fire. I actually lean the Mariners here. I know it's tough because you get Jekyll and Hyde with their offense. You just don't know which offense is going to show up, especially at home where they should be a lot better. But I like the Mariners here just because of them coming off the All-Star break and being at home. What do you think?
That would be my play. I like Luis Castillo. The problem is this Mariners offense. Now, it's not as bad as it was a couple years ago where they really couldn't score. They can eke out. I just think Houston's a team that's going to be right there in the American League behind the Tigers. I think they're the second favorite more than the Yankees were and things like that.
Agreed.
We'll see what Alvarez does from a health standpoint when they get him back. But I just love their pitching enough. I like their batting enough. And the Tigers are unproven, right? They've had a lot of things go right. Scooble's fantastic. But outside of that, like pretty unproven, all things considered. So I think Houston's going to be the team. But that doesn't mean one game after the All-Star break, they're going to win, right? It's the Mariners or pass for me. It seems a little high. I know the market would tell you that it's probably the right side, but I'm going to hold off on betting the M's here.
There is one statistical anomaly I wanted to point out. In the last 4 series, the Mariners have either been swept or they've been doing the sweeping. So I don't know if that's going to continue for a fifth series. So if you want to do any like series bets, I think a Houston 2-1 or Seattle 2-1 would be the smart move because I don't see another sweep in this one.
Okay, or maybe that rubber match, if it gets to that on Sunday, could be a bet in that regard. So yeah, I just have those two plays under 9 in the Orioles Rays, and then the Nerfy north of the border with the Blue Jays hosting the Giants, Verlander against Bassett. You have a couple interesting takes. You're going to back Patrick Corbin and the Rangers minus money. And your second play is also I'm trying to remember it. The Braves. Yeah, the
Yes.
Braves against the Yankees. Ian Hamilton on the bump for New York. He was a late add to the card. So that's a little unconventional in that regard. But the Yankees are the Yankees. So, but you're still laying some lumber there with a bad, or at least a uh, very non-profitable Braves team.
Seiya Suzuki with a 3-run shot against Giolito. So
Oh boy.
Nerfy, if anybody had Nerfy there, that's a tough loss. 3-0, the Cubs are up.
Yeah, 3-0 and still no outs for Giolito on the bump. So again, disruption. Wes talked about it on the show yesterday. He likes a lot of unders for pitching props. We'll see what happens with Colin Ray, but looks like Giolito might cash a lot of unders on his pitching props. 3-0 Cubbies, bottom one, still nobody out at Wrigley Field. So you got your two official plays. Anything else you want to mention? I want to touch on a couple WNBA things real quick.
No, that's all I have. I love to hear the WNBA stuff.
Yeah, Betting Weekly fast break. No show again today as it's the All-Star break for the W. They've had the Players Union and the league met yesterday. 40 plus current players met because they're all in Indianapolis for the festivities. And we'll see. I mean, the lockout's been turned around, so it could be a wild situation come October, but nothing drastic right now. As for the festivities, no Caitlin Clark. I said the other day on on Betting Weekly Fast Break, I said, do not bet Caitlin Clark. I don't think she's going to play many minutes in the All-Star game. And then she got hurt with the growing injury. I just thought there was value elsewhere in some of these markets. And that I'm not locked into the skills competition. I think there's not as much value in that regard, but I do think the All-Star weekend is interesting for the MVP. And at Bet Rivers, you can get Kelsey Mitchell at 12-1. I think that's a solid play. She can score in bunches. She's a weapon because of her speed. That's a lean for me, but I would bet Angel Reese at 40-1. Again, just a little sprinkle, but she's going to play a bunch. Also, I think people like playing with her because she doesn't need the ball. She's not a ball hog, but I could see her grabbing a bunch of rebounds. This All-Star game's unlike the NBA one where they actually will play some defense, be competitive. Because remember, teams were picked, so there's a little edge there. Angel likes playing hard. I don't know if anyone can play harder than she does. I can see her gobbling up a lot of rebounds and getting some putbacks and having some uncontested layups. I wouldn't be shocked if she goes for like 15 and 15 and her team wins. And the 3-point shooting, obviously you have to fade because, Sabrina could go off or whatever, but I would not be shocked if she won the MVP. 40-1 is worth a little sprinkle. I think that's a silly number.
I'm actually perplexed at why those numbers are so long. Like Angel Reese is one
She
of the
doesn't
best players. Oh, okay, got it. Got it.
But she should not have the same odds as like Gabby Williams, who, if you think about what it takes in these All-Star, and sadly, these NBA All-Stars, I've done pretty well about predicting all the MVPs. Gabby Williams, it's her first All-Star game, I believe. She's going to be very deferential. She's not going to chuck. Okay. Sonia Citron, also 40-1. She's a rookie. She was looking forward to playing with Caitlin Clark. She's going to be deferential. You want people who are going to have the guts to take shots when they could pass to the face of the league, whether it's Sabrina or Collier and stuff. So I don't think Fee's going to go off just because she's a post player more than anything. I would look to someone like maybe Courtney Williams, but she'd have to rack up a bunch of mid-range shots. Alyssa Thomas could fill up the stat sheet if they care about rebounds and assists. But Wale went off last year. She just was hot and bang. But that was Olympians versus All-Stars. So there was more competitiveness. I just think the youngsters like Paige and Citron and Kiki, they're all going to defer. They're not going to score. Like, it's ridiculous. The Angel Reese will shoot when she gets the ball, and she'll run the break too. I think she'll finish with layups and all that stuff. I could see her going off in this game enough. At 40-1, there's value.
I like that look a lot. I still don't understand why it's 40-1 because she's gonna fill out the stuff. She's gonna stuff the stat sheet.
And she kind of feels like she has to live up to being on the cover of the video game and things like that. And she doesn't take plays off to begin with. So she had a good stat line last year in the All-Star game when they were playing for something. They were playing the Olympians. She ran the break. It was very good. The problem is you need their team to win, and then you also need them to shine. So that's why these odds are pretty, lucrative, if you will. Asia Wilson, 7-1. I mean, she's going to be a stat stuffer, but you need her team to win. That's part of it. So that would be the only other player I would win. It's almost, if you liked her team, I don't even know what team she's on, but 7-1 for Asia. She's going to dominate. She plays hard and everything. So Again, a little sprinkle for some MVP, but 40-1 just way too high. I agree with you. I would have her more in the 20-1 range. Um, some of these people just won't have the ball. They're just not assertive enough for them to cash.
So I haven't been around the WNBA All-Star festivities as much as you, but veterans, especially veterans that are dealing with injuries like Asia, I would assume that they're not going to be playing too much, right? Like the coaching staff and
Great
her
point.
teammates are going to tell them, this is just an exhibition match. You should be resting for the actual game. Whereas young players, Angel Reese, if Caitlin was healthy, like those are the players that I would kind of focus on because they'll be playing a lot.
True. True. All right. Real quick update from Wrigley Field. Cubs still up 3-0, still in the bottom of the first. There's 2 outs, though. Runner in scoring position, Dansby Swanson, the former #1 overall pick out of Vanderbilt, at the dish with a 2-2 count. So that's going to do it for this edition of Betting Weekly Hardball. Back to our normal schedule. Both shows next week after the All-Star breaks. We'll have some Vegas Summer League action as well to recap and look ahead to the futures market. So a little, you know, loose week this week with the All-Star breaks. We're back to our normal schedule. Betting Weekly Hardball, 2 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday next week. Also, Betting Weekly Fast Break, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. So for Albert Nguyen and everyone behind the scenes who does an awesome job, I'm Doug Kezirian. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you back here on Monday.